So what we have now is a selection of exercises that will show you how to create these lyrical and melancholic chord progressions, and hopefully you can use some of these exercises to help understand how to create such musical effects. To demonstrate these examples, we will keep the same sound that we were using previously. This is the full orchestra and choir patch. So now I'll play through exercise 1. This exercise is a descending exercise, and the chords descend a semitone at a time. However, whilst starting with a major chord, they switch between major and minor alternatively. As you can hear, this creates a very mysterious feel. One could almost describe it as supernatural or magical. In the score, I have written also all inversions, which basically means you can start on any inversion of the chord you wish to. And so this relatively simple exercise has a lot of possibilities depending on where you start and which chord inversion you start on. Now we get to our second example. This example is very similar to exercise 1, but it starts on the minor chord rather than the major chord. So we have the same rotation between minor and major chords, but starting on a minor chord. Whilst playing, I am also manipulating the foot pedal to introduce different sound elements to the patch. So again, this is a very useful example to learn. We can also play this kind of pattern, but with a different sound. In example 3, I am using a sordino instrument. This is a kind of damped string sound with very little vibrato. This also comes from the Orchestral Essentials 2 library. It is the String Ensemble Sordino patch. So this is an excellent sound to show exercise 3 with. And exercise 3 is made up of diminished chords that are descending a semitone at a time. This style of progression certainly reminds us of, for example, Hitchcock films, and is perhaps less commonplace today, but it is still an essential technique. Having covered major, minor, and diminished chords in the first 3 exercises, we can now demonstrate the augmented chords. These progressions will probably be even less used than diminished progressions, but once again they are certainly relevant to our lesson. The augmented chord itself is certainly used and heard, but the progression of augmented chords is perhaps less common. So now we have covered the 4 basic chord types: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. To be honest, these are chords that everyone should practice and at least be aware of. Much like language has a vocabulary of words, in music we have a vocabulary of chords. And using these chords, you can create specific moods or atmospheres, and will be able to move an arrangement into specific directions when called upon. So now, having covered the 4 basic chord groups, we can examine some other chord progression examples in the following chapter.